Guys, E3 is like completely dead now, and it's really Nintendo's fault, which hurts me to say because Nintendo's the reason I wanted to go to E3 since I was a kid, and they're pretty much the ones who killed it. I think it's hard to argue at this point that any other company had more of a negative impact on E3 than Nintendo, which might sound crazy. You might not get what I mean. But if we look at it, the reason companies don't think they need E3 began with Nintendo. And then the reason that this E3 revival died a terrible death today, I feel lies squarely on Nintendo. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. I was really pumped for E3. Even though I knew Microsoft and Sony weren't going to attend, I was like, all right, you know what? It's me and Nintendo. We can hang out. These events have been special to me. And I know, like, they're not for everybody, right? Public could go some years. They couldn't go other years. It was expensive. It wasn't expensive. It was crowded. It wasn't crowded. But it was just like the spectacle of it, right? Whether you watched it on TV, you followed it via your favorite podcast, you checked in on YouTube, you got to go. It was like a Christmas for Gamers week. And today they announced that it's done. They can't put on the show they intended to put on. ReedPop, who are the people behind PAX, were trying to put it on with the ESA. And so many people have dropped out over the past week and a half that they just said, oops, it's over. They didn't say we'll be back in 2024. They didn't say we're going to try again. They said they'll continue working with the ESA on future events, but who knows what that really means. And it sounds like it's just a last-ditch gasp to try and make somebody feel better somewhere so that they don't feel like a failure. Now, why is it Nintendo's fault? I feel like we should focus on that. I've made it clear why I love E3. I mean, I love Nintendo too, but I've made it clear why I love E3. I'm doing this in one take so you get like my blunt, honest truth here. Nintendo was the major one left. And you could blame Sony, you could blame Microsoft, but Nintendo was the major ones here. And then they said, oh, we're not going to E3. Remember that? We've talked about it multiple times. Why aren't they going? Is it because they truly don't have anything to show? Is it because they truly just are done after Pikmin 4 this year? Is it because they're hiding a super secret mega event? Is it because they're actually planning a new console and aren't ready to talk about it in June? What's going on? We don't know. But that was the domino that started the huge tumble of Sega pulling out, and of Ubisoft pulling out, and of Tencent pulling out, and of leaving basically nobody there. The convention center would have been crickets. It would have cost more to turn the lights on than it would have to get the funding from the people still there, and it probably would not have attracted many journalists or fans given how many major game companies were not going to be involved. Now, why is it Nintendo's fault and not Microsoft or Sony? Well, let me direct you back to what E3 used to be like, okay? E3 used to be everybody showed up and did a big live presentation. Jack Tretton would get up there for Sony, all right? And Phil Spencer or a bunch of weirdos before would get up there for Microsoft. And Reggie Fils-Aimé would come out with Miyamoto and they would deliver a live performance like this was some sort of Broadway thing for gamers. And it was kind of genius. It was kind of magical and everybody tuned in and everybody was watching and it was special. And then in 2011, Nintendo said, what if we didn't do a live presentation? In theory, sounds crazy. But Nintendo proved that via Nintendo Directs, you could attract a hardcore audience to watch your show and just your show on whatever day you said so. You could make an event all about you. You no longer had to compete with everybody else trying to vie for a spot on that stage. You could make your event and be the star. You could have whatever game you wanted go first. You weren't backloaded to the end of the presentation when everyone had already gotten bored. You weren't shoved in the middle right after a commercial break. You were front and center. Nintendo Directs showed that you could do your own event as a company, as a publisher, as a platform holder, and get a bunch of eyeballs. You could be really successful. Nintendo has amazingly kept this Direct format going for 12 years now. Last Direct was a little shaky. Last fall was a little weird, but nonetheless, Nintendo Directs changed everything. Every other company began to borrow from this, and more, tons and tons of developers and publishers and platform holders host their events online. Everybody has their own Nintendo Direct at this point. And that really contributed to E3 being less important. If we don't have to be there in person together, do we have to be there at all? And as more and more companies saw that, hey, we can save money, we can speak directly to our fans, and we can have our own shine, they all started to think of E3 as sort of the friend that isn't really doing anything for you much longer. Now, can you blame them because corporations exist to make money? No. But can you fault them? Yes. It's not a nice way to treat your friend. It's not a nice way to treat the thing that helped make gaming so massive. Always in the summer, always exciting, a great opportunity for everyone to gather, cheer on, and just champion new exciting titles and technology. More and more companies wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to diverge. They wanted to split. They wanted to go to Keighley's show. They wanted to go to PAX. They wanted to go to Gamescom. And for a while, it was sustainable. It got to a point where it just wasn't because things were spread too thin and too many people didn't want to fork over the massive costs it would charge to be a booth holder at E3. But it's not just about being a booth holder. It's like the booth is amazing. It's an experience. You could VR go to Disney or you could go to Disney. It's different, right? It really is. And I know most people out there didn't have a chance to go to E3 and wouldn't have been able to go to this show, but I don't know that just because not everyone can go, we should destroy it. I think even watching it, at least for me, was fun for the first 20 some years of my life. Watching it on TV, watching it on YouTube, following the podcast, it was big. It was like this made school worth it. This made work worth it. It was a fun thing. And I'm someone that my life is so much better because I flagpole so many things. By that I mean I set all of these things I'm looking forward to. Ooh, the new Marvel Snap card, the new episode of Severance, the Mario movie, E3, this game release, my brother's birthday. I basically plot out my future so that I have all these flagpoles I can reach for and be excited about. It's not fake, it's real, and it's just a tactic I use. E3 was one of the most exciting times, and in many ways, I liked it better than Christmas. Because it felt like just an explosion, a deluge, a tsunami of sweet stuff. My favorite hobby, gone mega. And now it's spread across, and that never feels as good to me. And Nintendo really is to blame. They're the ones that painted the path forward for every company to not need E3, to not need a central hub, to not need a central showcase, to not need one place, one time, one unified voice. And I think that sucks. I know, at the end of the day, the games still come out. They're better than ever. There's a lot of great stuff. And there's a lot of fun events. But the events often are disappointing, aren't they? Can we all agree that more times than not, whether it's a State of Play, Microsoft thing, some other company doing their own show, an EA Play, a Ubisoft Presents, even, dare I say, some Nintendo Directs, are letdowns? Because rather than bringing their best foot forward, they just have to bring their feet. I know they want to do a good job. I know they want to show stuff off, but don't they usually just feel like, what? That's because they're so diluted. One big week where everything explodes. Yes, some things get lost in the shuffle. But let those things take an opportunity to repurpose themselves elsewhere. The big week makes it big. You're guaranteed for mega show. And there still will be some shows, like Xbox will do something since they own everybody now, and Jeff Keighley's going to do his Summer Games Fest. I hate to say it, but last year's Summer Games Fest was the worst event I've ever been to in my life. And I've been to E3s and PAXs and Gamescoms for a decade. That was a terrible show. And unless they're going to quadruple the size, I don't know that it's going to be any better this year. I'm telling you, so many games that are already out, so many just small DLC packs, and then stations where you couldn't even play the games. It was so much smaller than it looked on your stream. It was really, really lame. And I hate to say that, I know they were trying, but if E3 could just be a thing, there'd be no reason to try. I don't know what's wrong with everybody just kind of coming together. Wasn't there kind of also sort of just a fun unification? Everybody gets in the same spot. The developers, the publishers, the players, the media. I know so many people resented it. Giant Bomb would talk about, it's so exhausting, I don't want to go. It's dude, you only live once and you're getting a chance to go to video game heaven. In Los Angeles, California. Oh, the traffic, it's so busy. Everybody's annoying. Come on, man. You're getting to play video games. Stop going to parties till 5 a.m., get a good night's sleep, and hit the show floor. That's what I did every year, and it worked fine. I don't know. I feel really sad that my favorite video game company are pretty much the ones who began the crack that started to splinter E3 and then just sealed the deal by saying, hey, we're not going. And for all we know, Nintendo has a very good reason. Maybe they are going to drop an amazing showcase in August, reveal the Switch 2, and blow us away. But E3 has tried to stay above water. It's tried to not succumb to the sinking sand that has surrounded it for probably 5, 6, 7 years now. It's been trying to be killed off for the better part of a decade. And it's lasted because there's power in one awesome place, a hub. An amazing week for gaming. And now we lose that. And I don't care what you say. The Keighley Summer thing. It's like a branded quarter of a size thing. It's just... Apparently, they think that also the ability for all these companies and games to thrive during the pandemic without in-person shows just prove further why blow the money. And again, I know companies are a bottom-line oriented business. That's what they're intended. Like, that's their sole reason for existence. But, like, sentimentality, fun, cooperation, spirit, excitement, like, that has to count for something. At least it does for me. And it's not always about doing what's easiest or what's laziest or what's... I don't know. Why didn't Nintendo have to start Directs? I mean, I love Directs. I don't know. I guess that's a good question. Would I rather have Directs or would I rather have E3? If I could see the future and I knew that it was going to go this way, that I knew that the first Direct was going to lead to the eventual disintegration of E3 in its entirety. That's a hard choice. It's a hard choice because basically E3 was like one giant Direct for everybody. Would I rather have one mega show that I knew was going to be phenomenal or a bunch of little shows throughout the year that have no guarantee at being great at all? Logical Zach says take the Direct spread out. Heart Zach says E3 was just incomparable. It was amazing. The booths were ridiculous. I sat to Jack Black while we saw a trailer for Borderlands. I had so many joyous moments checking out Nintendo stuff and the Wii U for the first time and the Switch and it's just weird that babies right now, my future children, will grow up not knowing what E3 is. They'll think it's like I don't know, some additive you put into food to make it spicy. E3's dead. It's probably never coming back. The hope is kind of gone, and it's no longer just a small show. It's a no-show, and it's Nintendo's fault. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks, Nintendo. You better release a Switch 2 now to make it up to me. You better. Tears of the Kingdom is going to be sick, I know. It's a good consolation prize, but if you really want to even things out here, E3's dead. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Until next time, SwitchForce out.